Can you believe it? Tomorrow, Nebraska kicks off their season versus Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium. So that being said, the time has finally come. Today, I'm going to give you my official predictions for this matchup. We're going to go play by play. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth. What does Nebraska succeed at? What do we struggle at? Some statistic leaders for the Big Red, offensive and defensive MVPs, and then who wins, the Huskers or the Bearcats? What does this mean for Nebraska going forward and everything else you need to know? So really quick, if you're excited about tomorrow, I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Now is the time for daily content talking Huskers. It's no brainer. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. We used to pray for times like these. We are one day away from Nebraska kicking off their season against Cincinnati, a very highly anticipated 2025 year with all the expectations in the world. But we start off with a formidable opponent. Coming from a Power 4 conference in the Big 12, Cincinnati, they've had a lot of success over these past couple years. Now, of course, they went 5-7 last season, but they're expecting to break through. And they have a lot of points on their team that are going to give Nebraska some runs. They're going to give us some trouble. So let's get things started. We'll go over 5 specific predictions for this ball game, how it's going to go, how it's going to develop, and then I'll get to my score prediction, my MVPs, and a couple other surprises. So let's start things off with my first prediction for this ball game. It's not the offense that gets hot very early on for the Huskers. It's the defense. They set the tone. They set the tempo. Not only will Nebraska's black shirt defense force a 3-and-out to get this ball game going, I believe Nebraska's defense will shut out Cincinnati in the first quarter. You go back to Colorado last year. The reason why we won that ball game is because they were absolutely phenomenal in the first and second quarter. And it wasn't necessarily the offense, it was the defense who set the tone. The exact same thing will happen at Arrowhead Stadium this Thursday. And you specifically go to a positional group, it's a defensive line, because they've heard the smoke. They've heard the question marks that people don't believe in them, and they're going to dominate the battle of the trenches. The secondary, they're going to be flying the football. The linebackers, they're going to be filling up the gaps. Really, from a Cincinnati standpoint, we know the game plan. They're going to try to run this football very early on, not only with their quarterback who has some wheels, but with Tawee Walker, their running back, with their solid offensive line. Nebraska, they're going to hear that in the game planning, and they're going to shut down this rushing attack. They're going to force them to air it out, and frankly, they just don't have talented enough receivers to air it out consistently. So for that reason, Nebraska, they will pitch a shutout in the first quarter. Now, is that going to happen throughout the second quarter, third quarter? We will see as this video progresses, but Nebraska, the defense gets hot. Hopefully the offense will as well. Second prediction, Nebraska's offensive line has some trouble early on. And that's the big positional group that really this is unexpected, because the coaching staff, they've hyped it up. They believe it's the best it's been in about a decade here. But you go to Cincinnati, they have a very formidable defensive line. Okay, they have Dante Corleone, who's one of the best nose tackles in America. They have a bunch of returning transfers, and pieces who were on that team last year. Guys who have done it at a high level, whether it's in, Power 4 ranks, in FCS ranks, or even in Group of 5, right? They have guys who know how to get the quarterback consistently. So the offensive line, they have a very big test early on in this ball game. I believe that the defensive line for Cincinnati, they're going to come to play. They know that in order for the Bearcats to win, they need to step up. So there's going to be times where Dante Corleone gets in the backfield. A couple of these edge rushers, they get to Raiola. They're going to give him some trouble. They're going to start to interfere in the running game. Okay, it really is going to rely on Dana Holgorsen being creative, being aggressive, finding ways to, fill these gaps. How can the offensive line develop as the game progresses? Because it's all about those adjustments. Okay, you're not perfect in the first quarter. It is what it is. But how can you get better going into the second, going into the third? Nebraska, they haven't been very successful at that. So while this offensive line, I do believe it's going to be good for Nebraska this season, they're going to have a very tough test in this ball game, at least early on against Cincinnati. I think that this defensive line is going to give us troubles. Third prediction, I think Nebraska's air attack is going to be too much for Cincinnati very early on in this ball game. I just go to the Cincinnati secondary. I don't think it's very talented. Okay, let alone their defensive coordinator, who I don't think is very good either. You mix Dylan Rowell's ability, his potential, his arm strength, his ability to extend plays with Dana Holgorsen's play calling, and with this phenomenal wide receiver core, Jacory, Barney, Dane, it's going to be way too much for them, at least in this first quarter. Okay, Jacory Barney, I believe he has a big game with over 100 receiving yards. I do think he's a receiving leader, not only from a yard standpoint, but from a reception standpoint. Okay, Dane Key, I think is going to have a huge chunk play jump ball potentially for a touchdown. I think Nyziah Hunter is going to be very, very solid throughout this ball game where, it's a big third down. It's not Jacory who gets the reception. It's going to be Nyziah. Okay, I think the receiver core is just absolutely phenomenal. And also, I think we're going to have a trick play in there, right? Week one's where all the wrinkles come out, all the fun comes out. I think we're going to have a trick play on this offense. Okay, and we're going to have a big play. Whether it's, Dane Key who gets a reception, I don't know. Okay, whether it's Emmett Johnson, but we're going to have a trick play in there. I'm waiting for it because I know it's going to happen because, you go back to last year, UTEP, you go back to, our season opener against Minnesota with Matt Rule in 2023. We've always had trick plays in week one. We're going to have a trick play this game. I don't know what it's going to be necessarily, but just watch out for that trick play. Fourth prediction. I think Nebraska is going to force some key turnovers in this ball game. And I think that's a huge X factor for us. Okay, that was a huge disappointment from last season. We just couldn't force turnovers, specifically from an interception standpoint. Okay, that changes. I think this is going to be a ball game in the second quarter. Okay, I do think it's going to be still up in the air. We're not going to be blowing them out from the very beginning. I don't expect that at all. I really don't. I could very well see, 17-10 in the second quarter where Cincinnati's driving and they have an opportunity to tie it up at 17-17. But what happens is that we're going to force this Cincinnati offense to pass the football. Okay, we're going to force them, to get it out to the wide receivers. And for that reason, I think our DBs are just a lot more talented. They're going to jump that route. They might take it back for a touchdown. You never know. So while I don't expect Nebraska to maybe blow them out from the very beginning, it's going to be competitive, at least in the second quarter. We're going to force a big interception, a big fumble recovery very early on that sets the tempo of this game. And this defense, once again, continues to dominate as it progresses. And then fifth prediction, I believe. This special teams unit, while it's not a deal breaker in this game necessarily, it's not going to come down maybe to a key kick. I think the special teams will shine in every department. Okay, Archie Wilson, he's only going to punt twice in this ball game. Okay, he's going to punt very early on in the first quarter, and I believe he's going to punt in the fourth quarter. So he's only going to punt twice, but Archie Wilson, both those punts are going to be over 45 yards. Okay, a lot of Nebraska fans are going to like to see that. Kwinten, he's only going to have one field goal attempt in this game, but it's going to be perfect. It's going to be about a 45-yard field goal, and he's going to nail it. So you have a good punter, you have a good kicker. And also, the big thing for Nebraska in this ball game, we're going to have a dynamic kick return game. Not only returning kicks, but also returning punts. I think Jacory Barney is going to have a play potentially early on where, again, this defense is shining in the first quarter. They punt it over to Jacory Barney. He brings it back for 50-60. Sets up the offense inside the red zone. Okay, with his playmaking ability, it could very well see that happen. Kent Williams could have a big kick return as well. So I think the special teams, they shine. In the past, our special teams would actually give other teams life. Okay, we'd be winning by maybe 10 points, but we'd have a special teams blunder that give them an opportunity to get back in the ball game. Instead, this year, instead of giving Cincinnati a chance, we're going to put that final nail in the coffin with our special teams, with that unit in general. So I'm excited to see what Mike Eckler and what these guys can do because I'm looking forward to the special teams. All right, score prediction for this ball game. Who gets it done? Nebraska, Cincinnati, Arrowhead Stadium, all the hype in the world. It's a non-negotiable. Nebraska needs to win this ball game. We just need to. Okay, if you lose this ball game, God forbid, the season is pretty much over before pretty much begins. Okay, you got to win it because if you lose, all the hype around playoffs, potentially even 9 wins, it goes out the window. For that reason, I believe Nebraska versus Cincinnati tomorrow. The Huskers will win 31-10. I'm staying true to my prediction in my record prediction just a couple weeks ago. Listen, I think it's very simple. There's a couple key factors it's going to come down to. I think Nebraska's defense is going to pitch a shutout for the first quarter. That's going to set this offense to succeed. I think that our passing attack is way too much for Cincinnati. I just don't know if they're talented enough from a defensive standpoint, past this defensive line, to hold us. And also, from an offensive standpoint, if this game becomes a boat race, I don't think they can score more than 3 touchdowns on this defense. Okay, they don't have enough talent all the way around the offense. Okay, the only way Cincinnati wins in my mind is if they hold this offense to pretty much around 21 points. They can keep us in arm's length around 7-10 points the entire ball game, and then they strike going to the fourth quarter. And once again, Nebraska, we can't win the close game. That's the only way they win. If Nebraska very early on can be up 21 going to halftime, which is very probable in my mind, there's just no way Cincinnati can come back because at this point in time with our talent, it's going to be very, very difficult for them. So that's my prediction for Nebraska, 31-10. Going to my offensive and defensive MVPs. Offensive MVP is going to be Dylan Raiola. I think he has a great performance. I think the passing attack is elite. I do believe the running attack is going to leave a lot to be desired. There's going to be a lot of question marks. While Emmett Johnson, he'll have a decent game, it won't be phenomenal. And I do think there will be some question marks from Mekhi Nelson and Isaiah Mozee after this ball game. But I do believe the passing attack will be elite. And then going on to our defensive MVP, I'm going to go with Marcus Watson-Trent. I do think the defensive line is going to have a good ball game, but it goes down to our linebackers making clutch tackles. And this is somebody who knows how to tackle at a high level in every single ball game he plays in. So Marcus Watson-Trent, I believe he is going to shine for Nebraska. I expect him to be our tackle leader, potentially get a couple sacks in there, maybe even a forced fumble, but that's my guy. So offensive, defensive MVPs, Nebraska 31-10. I want to hear your predictions down below. What are you thinking for Nebraska? Do you think it's going to be a little bit closer? Do you think it's going to be an astronomical blowout? Take a second. Take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute. Doesn't matter. Comment your score prediction down below, your reasoning. I want to hear it. I want to see what you have to say. Hey, if you made it far in the video, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see you there tomorrow. If you're in Kansas City, let me know because I'll be there. Hit me up. But guys, go Big Red. Go Met Roll. Hopefully we get the dub tomorrow. See you then.